to ensure that environmental justice became part of the agenda of New York City and New York State. And we have succeeded in that mission to a large degree. But again, WEAC's mission is to ensure that people living in communities of color and areas of low income participate meaningfully in decision making that really influences the environment and public health. And we deliver on our mission in a number of ways. We work to improve environmental justice outcomes for our northern Manhattan community. We work to really build power and the capacity of environmental justice advocates and organizations, really in service to building a stronger environmental justice movement. Now, last year, Dr. Bob, Dr. Beverly, and I attended COP26 in Glasgow, and we were really strongly aware of the absence of climate justice and the concerns of the Global South and the Blue Zone, and in a variety of conference conversations. We realized that advocates from the frontline communities were really relegated to the margins, while leaders in industry talked robustly about securing global net zero goals, protecting and building resilient communities, and advancing equity and cooperation that would quickly and justly accelerate climate action. But there was a problem, and we decided there and then that we would create access and connections for those who've been marginalized and left out of these conversations. And so today, we are standing in our vision of the Climate Justice Pavilion. So thank you for being here. So, you know, being here really gives us an opportunity to share ideas, strategies, tactics, because we really need to bring our voices to the global stage. We need to be here to integrate and align the perspectives of climate justice communities in the Global South, indigenous peoples, and other allied movements throughout the world. We really have tactics to share with each other, and we really need to begin to do that so that we are strong advocates for each other. We're so excited to bring a diversity of groups here to Sharm el-Sheikh. We have an amazing lineup of speakers, panels, and other programming over the next 2 weeks. So we hope that you'll join us, and all of it is being live streamed and recorded and shared with the world. Now, our goal is to bring climate justice to the forefront of these climate discussions and to really share the knowledge, the strategies, and tactics with each other, to develop relationships that can provide substantive data and information that builds capacity locally and strengthens our movement globally. Now, to bring awareness, understanding to more mainstream attendees, that has been our goal, and to develop collaborations and strategic partnerships that are mutually beneficial. So I would like to thank our colleagues, our staff, our participants, and all of the amazing sponsors who really helped make this happen. Their names are on the wall around the corner to my left. Take a moment and really see who stood up for climate justice and for our communities around the world. And again, thank you to the incredible WEAC team, the team, yes? Our volunteers, the team from the Deep South Center and from the Bullard Center. We've worked together and it's been amazing. I also want to say, for those of you who have a business card, please drop them with one of our staff, and also please go to our website and register so that next year we know where you are, we can communicate, and before next year, before the end of the year, let's communicate and understand how you have felt about the pavilion, what we can do better next time, and how we can really develop the strong partnerships that we all need to build power. So thank you very much for being here.
Good afternoon again. I'm Dr. Beverly Wright, I am the founding director of the Deep South Center for Environmental Justice. And I think that what I wanted to really share with you is why I'm here and why we decided to come together. So of the 26 cops that recorded, I think that Bullard and I for certain have attended 13 of those COPs. We've also attended a number of United Nations conferences. And over the years, one thing just became really obvious. And that was, for me, since we were college professors at HBCUs, that African American students were not there. We saw a lot of people representing us who were not us. And so they were advocating for people on the continent and black people in the US, but we didn't see our own students doing the same. And so in 2019, I believe it is, I may be wrong, we decided to bring a large number of HBCU students to the Paris conference. It was COP 22. And it was amazing how people reacted to us. When they saw us, they were first amazed, and we didn't know what to expect. I didn't really understand the reaction. And then one man said, "We never see you here." And they were happy to see us, and our students were just elated to be there. Not just that they were getting to Paris for the first time. That certainly was a plus for students. But they were able to begin interacting with people from other countries who had similar problems. And then just today, I know even more now why absolutely this pavilion was needed. Listening to indigenous people from Africa, Native Americans in the United States, all talking about the same oil companies and the same systems that are oppressing us in the same way. And in that, I'm from Cancer Alley in Louisiana, 136 petrochemical plants, 6 refineries, and growing. I think we're now at 152 petrochemical plants in an 85-mile stretch of land that has poisoned and killed us, destroyed our health, destroyed our environment, destroyed our property value. Listening to other people from that far away talk about the same conditions from the same multinational companies. We must come together. The only way we're going to beat this is by working together. And I was supposed to do a number of things, but like me, because I wasn't scripted, I got off script. So I need to tell you what our mission is. So, well, the mission of the Deep South Center is basically to provide support for communities in ways that protects their health, also forces government to respond to them in the way that they should, and in all, improve the lives of children and families, mostly in the Gulf Coast. That's where we started. We are now working across the U.S. in ways that we never thought we would be because, again, the situation is the same. Whether it's in the Gulf Coast or someplace else in the United States, all the way to California, you see the same thing and the same people. That has been their goal. And so we cultivate communities in ways that gives them voice. We work with students to try to get people who will replace us. We need students to become engaged. We don't want to be here, we won't be here forever, but we certainly don't want to die in this chair. We're looking for young people to take our place, and we would love to see that happen. And we do workforce development, where we are training young men and women to clean up the places where they live and enjoy the economics that comes with that, but also moving towards a renewable future and making certain that our people get those renewable jobs. So I would like to say in closing, as I've already talked too long, I am so excited to be here. We just could never imagine that we could do this as quickly as what we did, raise the money that we did, but the reaction has been so wonderful. We plan to continue, so you will see us again next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Robert Bullard. I am a school teacher by profession, and I'm usually sitting in between these two ladies, and I always follow them in more ways than one. And it's great to be here. I am a sociologist. I'm an environmental sociologist. I am an environmentalist, but I told people I do not do dead white man sociology. I do what's scientifically called kick-ass sociology. So over the last 40 years, 42 years, I founded two centers, both of them at historically black colleges and universities, HBCU. The first one was the Environmental Justice Resource Center at Clark Atlanta University, my alma mater. Atlanta University was founded by the Freedmen's Bureau to educate former slaves. And the Department of Sociology was founded by W.E.B. Du Bois, a scholar, an activist, someone who basically was not satisfied with the status quo. One thing that was not mentioned, that all three of us on this stage graduated from HBCUs. Give a shout out. Peggy, Shepard, Howard University, HU, you know. Dr. Wright, Grambling State University. And myself, Alabama A&M University and Atlanta University. Shout out. So it is not by accident that the three of us decided that if anyone was going to get a climate justice pavilion at a COP meeting, if no one else did it, we were going to do it. Now, understand, we're not waiting for anybody to free us from poison, pollution, environmental racism, colonialism that's being pushed down on us by these petrochemical companies. Let me say the the first center that I founded was the Environmental Justice Resource Center, 1994. And I was lucky enough, I think it was last year, a funder called and said, Dr. Bullard, we want to give you some money for you to start a center at Texas Southern University, the university where I got my first job out of graduate school. And we want to call the center the Bullard Center. Now I was shocked, floored, amazed, and I said, okay, that's what you want to do. So the Bullard Center is about research. I am a researcher. It's about teaching. I am a teacher. It's about doing good scholarship. But the research that we do is called community-based participatory research, doing that way back in 1979. Yes, I'm old. I'm a boomer, still fighting, still strong, still standing. You hear me? So the Bullard Center is about doing research not on, but with. It's about doing policy work, real solutions, not false solutions, not running after shiny objects, taking our eye off the ball, getting distracted. We also about assisting and supporting. We do not do organizing for. We work with organizers who are damn good at organizing. And when it comes to supporting groups, technical support, legal support, I have testified in dozens of lawsuits, not parachuting in. I'm a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, Vietnam era veteran. We used to jump out of planes. I don't do that now. I take Delta. Or in this case, well, I won't mention the airline that kind of messed up. Anyway, the idea of advocacy, supporting advocacy, being called to be an expert witness on legal cases, and doing it at the best rate, pro bono, the best rate you can get, free. So I think it's important to understand how we got here. Now, the first COP that had a climate justice summit, some of us on this stage helped organize in The Hague in COP 5 or 6 in 2000. And it was planned for 500 people, 1,000 people showed up. But we have never been on this side, in the blue zone, on the official side. We've always been outside. we always had to go to somebody else's venue being invited. Go to somebody else's house and being invited. But in this case, we are the inviter, or we make the invitations, and this is our house that we built. We built this house. So, and it's not cheap. It's not a cheap house. You want me to tell you how much? Okay, I won't tell you how much, but it's a nice house in the U.S., and we can't take it home with us. Let me just close. The importance of this moment and connecting the dots across the globe, as I said before, across the globe. The story is the same. The same flag that is being flown, the almighty dollar in the U.S., is being flown in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, in our communities of color, indigenous communities in the U.S., and people of color in other places around the world. We need to understand that it's one fight, it's one struggle, and that the solution is to somehow use the systems approach to somehow break down this oppression and not be fooled by money that is being thrown at some of our organizations and some of us who tempting by this. We have to be true to the cause. This is a race, but it's no sprint. It's like a marathon relay. Now, I used to run track. I know there's no such race. But in the race for justice, it's like you run your 26.2 miles, and then you pass the baton to the next generation to carry that baton, 26.2 miles. And as an elder, as somebody who's done this for 4 decades, you hope you mentor that person, that young person that accepts that baton. Don't drop it, because if you drop it, that sets you back. We want a clean handoff so that we can stand on the sideline and say, run, cheer, run. Give it to that person that's running that anchor. Take it across the finish line, and we finish strong for justice. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. We're going to open up the floor for Q&A. Give me 1 second to get the other mic. Testing, testing. It's a little low. If you have any questions, you can step to this area, and we'll just queue right on the side of the stage.
How y'all doing? Valencia, she, her, with the Movement for Black Lives. I heard you talk about building the workforce, the work that you all are doing around the workforce. In my local organization, I've been trying to brainstorm on some things to do. So can you share some of the stuff that you all are doing around that, very specifically?
Yes, I can be very specific. I always have stories, and I don't know if I should start there, just be specific. Okay. I say I always have stories, and I think I'll do a short one so you can understand how an environmental justice organization also became a workforce development organization. That didn't happen because we planned it that way. Almost everything that we've done has come out of needs that have been identified by communities, because the whole premise of the work that we do is community driven, has to be the path. And so with saying that, I'll take you to what was happening. So very quickly, one thing in specific, one incident in specific drove me to do this kind of work. And it was working in Louisiana, in Convent, Louisiana, where we finally beat Shintech, a really horrible company that was trying to go into an all-black community. And when we finished working there, Miss Imelda West, one of our old soldiers, put her head on my shoulder and she said, Dr. Wright, I just love you. You know, we're so happy that you stopped these people from coming here, but our children need jobs. They have nothing to do. And it just so happens that the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, through the unions, had figured out that they weren't really training people to do hazardous waste removal or cleaning up Superfund sites where our people lived. So they decided to work to reach out to Hispanics, African Americans, which is kind of a hard sell in the beginning, because first of all, we live on these dirty sites. Now you want us to clean it up and die from that too? The thing that convinced us to move forward is that the NIEHS program, the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences, that program was based around health and safety. So they were pushing, working with unions to make certain that union workers or workers could work safely and not die from exposure. So that was the beginning of us starting this project. Dr. Bullard and myself co-directed the first training program with the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. At that time, I think we were with the labor union in particular. NIEHS gives a 5-year training grant. We're now in 28 years of doing this work. So we've been refunded for 5 consecutive years, one of the few organizations that started, and we are still there. We are now trying to pivot as quickly as we can to solar and wind, moving into the renewable space, because that's where the jobs are going to be. Although I don't think we'll ever finish cleaning up our communities, those jobs will always be there. And climate change has made it so that disasters are one after the other. So as soon as you finish one job, guess what? There's another place that you have to go to work. So the work is out there for the future and for legacy pollution areas. We just need more money to support training our own people so that they can work and take care of their families and clean up their own environment. That's what that's. Sorry for the long answer. You want to add something?
No, that was justice.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, we developed a Northern Manhattan Climate Action Plan with about 400 community residents. And they prioritized, we were really surprised, they prioritized energy security as the #1 issue that they wanted us to work on. So as a result, we began our worker training program focused on solar so that we could bring energy security to our community. In addition, you know, gentrification is a big issue in so many areas. And we feel that one of the ways to keep our affordable housing in our communities is to ensure that the energy costs are as low as possible. And so we have been doing solar on affordable housing units in Harlem, and now we're beginning to do training on offshore wind, which is a really big initiative in New York City right now. So again, energy security has really propelled us to work on solar and wind.
Let me just say also that being an academician, a university professor, getting experts, scientists, doctors, lawyers, professionals, folks who are on call to assist and support, getting them diversify the workforce when it comes to those professions. I think that's also an important part, getting the kinds of people that can serve on panels, boards, et cetera, to ensure that there's equity, fairness, and justice in the way that dollars are being distributed, especially research dollars, other dollars that are being pushed out. So I think we have to make sure that we get our people into all kinds of fields, because in most cases we are, I'm going to talk as a black man, we are underrepresented in almost every area except prison. So when we talk about getting more people into positions that can move them up the economic ladder, that's a big that's a heavy lift, and we must say that that's part of what we do. And we've been doing this for, Dr. Wright didn't say that we're doing this since 1995 in terms of that workforce development within IEHS. And over the years, it started to become more green jobs oriented.
So, hi again. Okay. So, my question is, what recommendations do you have for us while in this space to maximize the work that we do in different communities throughout the, well, I guess now not just the U.S., but right on the global scale. In this context, at this moment, in participating in this process, what recommendations do you have for maximizing the structural change that we need?
Well, Ruth, I want to say this before I say anything else. That is the reason that we did the Climate Justice Pavilion, so that we could bring people together for us to talk about how we can maximize our strengths and move forward. One of the things that we are hoping to is to get a huge listserv, a huge list of people from all over the world so that we can stay in contact. But another thing that will be happening in this space is that we haven't set the dates yet, but we'll have what we call solution centers sessions at the end of the day, where we'll be asking people to come and sit and converse with people who have similar interests. So we're working that out because we were saying, so should we ask people to submit topics that they would like to talk on, and we post those so that you could come back at the end of the day and have those conversations. I wish I had the answer for that question specifically, because it means we could really solve these problems. That's a very tough question, but we are attempting to find ways to bring us together that we can work more closely together. And I told this earlier, the fact that we are all suffering from the same thing is pretty obvious when, if you live in Louisiana, as I do, and you visit an African village that's being poisoned by mercury, and you find out it's from Bordens in Louisiana, in Narco, Louisiana at that. So you're looking at the people in Narco suffering from shell oil, and you're looking at mercury that's being transported, and you get there and find out, oh my God, it's the same people, it's the same stuff. So we know that there's a connection between us as it relates to pollution and climate impacts. How do we get together to make this a bigger movement than just the Cancer Alley movement or the Ohio Valley movement or the South African movement, where we make it one movement? That is difficult, but I believe it can be done, and this is a start for getting that done.
Thank you. I think it's important that we also put in context that while we have lots of horror stories, that there are rays of hope, success stories, and victories. And so I think what we have to do also is to pull out of the struggles and somehow capture that from the real people who were involved, and try to synthesize and do an anatomy of success. What are the ingredients that were in place that made that success or made that victory successful? I know there are differences across the U.S. in terms of success stories and across the globe, but I think if we can share success stories, then I think it would make us much more, make this pavilion and the interactions a much richer kinds of conversations as to how you did it, by the numbers, what was involved, how did David overcome, what's his name? Goliath. That I think would be helpful for someone who may be looking at this mountain and seeing it somehow you can't even, scale it, And if you find somebody who had a higher mountain and they reached the top and they're celebrating, how did they get to the top? I think that would be very instructive, as what Dr. Wright was saying, in terms of those solution roundtables, that we think about our successes and that positive thinking and doing and seeing that it has been done, that this is not something that has never been done. And we have lots of good stories, and we need to tell those stories, and the world needs to hear those stories so that there's not despair. And so we come with hope. I think that's something that we can try to build into this. Not have a program that's already pre-planned, but it comes out of the meetings, the interactions, the caucuses, that the participants drive that agenda.
Yeah, you know, some years ago, when the environmental justice delegations were coming to the COPs, we thought we were going to start a global campaign on globalization, and that did not happen. But there are groups here today and throughout the week who have mandates, who have principles that they want us to sign on to, and there's some groups who are talking about a world global campaign that we can begin to work on together. So let's begin to think about what that might be, what that concept might be that we can all get together around and build power in our individual constituencies and localities.
Hello. Hi, my name is Trina. So my question is, as a young person, I'm feeling the ticking time bomb of 2030 and trying to avoid 1.5C as much as possible. But I also understand thorough, solid environmental and climate justice takes time. And so do you have any insights to share for things, these two elements that kind of feel like they need to be reconciled, kind of, where you have to act fast, but it also has to be good, thorough actions as well?
Boy, you all ask tough questions. I'll say that. So, the despair, you know, the fear is certainly something that's there. And my response to you is simply this. The way I see the world right now, we will make the changes we need to make, or Mother Earth will force us to do it. For some reason, people think that, you know, they can put off doing what needs to be done, but we see hurricane after hurricane. What happens when there's a hurricane? Everything stops. No commerce, all of these things you want to keep going. The petrochemical plants have to shut down, you know. So what we're talking about, changing our patterns, and we're refusing to do it, but Mother Nature keeps forcing us to do it. One hurricane at a time, one tornado or 10 tornadoes. You know, so the fact that we are not treating climate change with the urgency that we treated World War II when we needed bullets for guns. And so you have Hershey's chocolate now making ammunition. That's where we ought to be with this climate crisis, but we are not. But I have no fear. Mother Nature is going to force us to do what needs to be done. If we don't do it the way we should, she'll make us do it her way. And so this is an old person talking, but I have seen that we can keep messing around like we're more powerful than Mother Nature. We are not. And she's already showing us the commerce that you want to keep going. What does it do when the storms come? It stops. So we will stop one way or another. That's an old person talking based on experience.
Well, let me just say a quote from Dr. King. He says the arc of the universe is long, but it bends toward justice. What we have to do is to mobilize with the urgency of now and assist that long arc bend toward justice. We can't wait another 40 years, another 30 years, like some of us. The urgency of now is on us, so that means we have to really get busy and treat it as if it is an emergency. And we have to move our governments to move with the urgency that this is an emergency like any other emergency that we've never seen before. And there's no playbook for that. So that means that when there's no playbook, that means we have to create it. As my father said, in the absence of a plan, your plan is the plan. We have to have a plan to get there, to bend that arc toward justice. I mean, it might sound like a cliche, but if we don't do it and we let somebody else say they're going to do it, it's not going to get done. That's coming from somebody who has been on this earth for 75 years. So take the wisdom of somebody who has seen a lot, but still is learning a lot. And I think we can bend that arc toward justice if we work on it hard enough, intergenerational. And the young lady that age group, that's who we are speaking to. You, the millennials and Zoomers and all the rest of them, you outnumber us. We're boomers. You outnumber us. So you have the numbers and the power, and seize that power and seize the opportunity with us, standing with you. Now, that's how I see it. I wear glasses, and it's 2020 with glasses on. I can see that.
Hi, my name is Victoria Whalen. I'm currently the social media fellow for Action for the Climate Emergency and a second-year environmental law student at the University of Oregon. And if you guys don't know, Oregon is the only state in their constitution that excluded black people and pretty much banned them, and you're still seeing the ramifications here today. And currently at the law school, I have helped found the first environmental justice student organization. So my question is more towards the professors. How can we empower these students who might not even know what environmental justice is to, look through an equitable and just lens, especially as we are going through this law school career and we are hopefully, fighting for justice, supposedly. But that's my question.
That's easy. Read my 18 books from cover to cover. No. There's a responsibility if you're a student, if you're not getting that equity lens, that justice lens in law school, medical school, whatever the program you're in, then you need to reach out and, I say Google, environmental justice, climate justice, environmental racism, and there's all kinds of literature out there, and any law school or any planning school that does not have climate justice, environmental justice in its curricula, I say that school is deficient. I know the University of Oregon Law School is a good school, good law school. But if it doesn't have that, then I say, and if you have a students of color, BALSA, or whatever the acronyms are, get them activate, get on it. Get on it.
I'm not going to answer because we have more students, so I'm going to let you go next.
Yes.
Yes, we're doing well.
My name is Dr. Dominic Bednar. Thank you all so much for your work. I guess my question is very simple. What message do you all have for hope for current and future generations of climate, environmental, and energy justice leaders? I know y'all kind of alluded to a bit of that, but if you have a direct message to the people here and to the people watching virtually.
Well, Bob said that. I'll let you go. No, go ahead.
Well, there's so many ways to make change. The environmental justice movement has been around for 35 or so years now. We have created majors in universities. Many of us here, our work is in textbooks. There are government jobs that have the title environmental justice. So our advocacy has been strong. It's been influential. There are people here right now who have jobs with the title environmental justice, and they're making a lot of money and they have a lot of status. So I would say that we have to continue our strong advocacy. You know, even though EJ is having a moment now, for the last 30-some years, we have been creating wins and victories in local communities. We have been making a difference for our folks, and we are going to continue to make a difference and try to create the bigger wins that we need by creating the power that we need at the federal level and, of course, at the global level as well. So even though it seems like some people have just heard of environmental justice, we have been very influential in terms of the infrastructure of the environmental movement in this country. And so we need you all and the younger folks to continue that. As Dr. Bob says, you've got to take that baton, you cannot drop it, and go straight ahead.
And I just wanted to say that, Dominic, we have you. You know, we know Dominic. He's been a part of us, our climate change conferences. We met a lot of young people out here. I'm looking at them who are PhD candidates, and then people who have now have their degrees. So we're passing the baton to you. So while you're asking us what to do, you know what to do. And you need to get busy. You know, you need to get busy. Because as I always say, I want to go to the beach. And I haven't been able to get there. Yes.
Thank you for this session. Penel Ibe, advocate with interfaith communities, mostly Quakers, and also a leader in the Black Hive policy. And you talked about, Dr. Wright, you talked about the tensions when you worked on ending sort of a company's presence in the community, but also the fact that there were no jobs. And we're seeing there's a lot of those tensions within our climate justice movement now. Recently with the United States, where we're combating a permitting reform that is being messaged as good for green energy or, you know, the green economy, while we also know it's going to fast track some other things. There's also tensions that we see around us calling for the ending of fossil fuels, and communities on the continent here in Africa are being spoken on behalf of, saying that they need these fossil fuels to expand. And so in your work, as you've grown and you know, come this far, how have you addressed those tensions in demands as well as messaging?
Well, the how is with great difficulty. You know, I'm just going to be serious. And as Bob and Peggy can attest to, or I can personally say, I can remember walking in rooms and people would be hissing at me almost, you know, because they knew that what I was going to say was not something they wanted to hear. So, and I really believe that for certain in the U.S. and our capitalistic society, we're always going to have these tensions. And as we have moved forward, even as black people in this country through the civil rights movement, we've made gains and we've had losses. And so there's always been some type of compromises that we don't like. But looking at the gains we make anyway, it's a difficult thing. So you almost need two groups of people. You need the people on the inside working hard to push for change, and you have the people on the outside throwing bricks at the rest of us to push. That moves the needle forward. So you need all of this together to make some movement forward. So, and I'm just thinking about what just happened with a few of the things that passed. What, Bob? Okay. Oh, thank you. I always forget this. A few of the things that have happened with the funds that we see coming into our community. Funds came in on one hand and some horrible stuff was on the back end. How do you deal with that? You know, do you say, knowing the political climate that we're in? You know, you see where you can get some gains for your communities, but you're looking on the back end saying, damn, they're taking it away as they give it to us. So our decision is we took the gains and we plan to fight like hell on the other side. We know what they're trying to do on the back end. No, I'm not going to say no to this. We fought too hard for it. But you can believe every time you look up, I will be there organizing people to fight against the bad stuff. That's almost the life and the struggle in any movement, when you have one group of people that don't have power and another group with power and with money, and the country's driven around that. So it's always going to be a struggle. But I say hang in there, hang in there, and always stand up for your values. We need people standing up for their values as we move forward.
Your question is not a new question. It's always been tension. There's always been compromise, but there's some things that we will not compromise. We will not compromise with killing our communities. And we will say, are you objective on the issue? Yes, I'm objective. Do you have an opinion? Yes, we have an opinion. Do you have a side? Yes, we take sides on the side of justice. We will not throw our community under the bus for a highway. So that's good infrastructure. Every highway is not a good project. I wrote a book called Highway Robbery: Transportation, Racism, New Routes to Equity. And that was a case of, this is long before the bipartisan infrastructure law, highways being built through our community, destroying our communities. If you talk about petrochemical plants, when we were fighting plants 30 years ago, and some unions would say, oh, you're trying to take our jobs. We said, no, you are in the front line. You're the canaries in the mines in terms of worker safety. You've been killed on the job, and then when you go home, and if you live on the fence line, you've been killed twice. So we have been fighting to ensure that the message of justice breaks through. A lot of unions are for pipelines, but again, we say, well, okay, how about the fact that we can talk about getting more renewables and other kinds of jobs to replace that old stuff, and not have to somehow compromise health, safety, community, livability, all those things. So that's what we have to do. We have to stay true to our messages. A lot of money has been thrown at us, trying to take us to the dark side, to become Darth Vader. We said no to that money. Keep your money. We'll keep fighting, and we're still standing. Those who took the money, where are they? Nowhere to be found. That's what we have to do. You have to stand on principles. We have 17 principles of environmental justice. And the first principle, overarching theme, is that those who are most impacted must speak for themselves and must be in those rooms when decisions are being made. And that's the overarching theme of the principles of environmental justice. You have to stay true to that. And those of us who have stayed true, we have taken a lot of shots, taken a lot of hits, but we're still standing, and we are here. And you are here. So that means a lot. Thank you for that question.
So I think we're at the end of this panel. We have a lot of exciting panels to go, and we hope you will join us again. I think someone's going to make an announcement about an upcoming panel. I can't believe we answered all the questions and we still had a little time. That never happens, right? It means programming was done really well this time.
Technical difficulties. I'm trying to pull it up on my phone. You can also find more information on our delegation and just programming in general and all of the organizations that are involved. We want to give a special thanks to Miss Peggy Shepard, Dr. Beverly Wright and Dr. Robert Bullard for being the foundation of this pavilion. We're excited to get day one under our belts, and there's so much more to see. So please visit our website for more details on programming throughout the entire conference. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon.